My name is Ashley Sosa. I'm currently a junior and I attend Doral Academy.
Awesome. Thank you. So, what happened initially that made you realize that you needed our service?
Initially, I realized that I needed the service because upon taking my PSAT, I realized that I didn't receive the score I had hoped for, and I was going to need a high SAT score in order to do well the remainder of high school and get into a good college.
When you say get into a good college, like what were you thinking? What are your top choices?
I think I would like to go to Duke.
Nice. That's your number one.
Yeah, that's a lot of pressure though.
That's the only one you have? Like,
No. I just like I think UM realistically, but it's also so expensive. So unless I get a merit scholarship, I don't know how like it's just so expensive for no reason.
right. Not UF?
Honestly, I don't really like I don't know why people I get it's a good school, but like I like living in Miami a lot. And that's why I'm not even that convinced about Duke because I really like city life. So I'm not sure.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Yeah, you can go to New York. Yeah, that's probably expensive.
I thought about Columbia for a while, but I don't know.
Good luck.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, hey, you just got to put your mind to it, but it
Yeah.
is tough. Um, Wait, so when you said at the time that you realized that you needed to kind of improve your scores for colleges, remind me again because I already forgot because I have a terrible memory. So you took a PSAT?
Yeah. I had never taken the SAT until this August.
Okay. And how'd you do on that PSAT that made like what about it? Like what score or I don't know, that got
Yeah,
improved?
no, I just did like horribly. I got a 540, and even though my SAT score isn't where I want it to be yet, I improved significantly. So that's what made me realize.
Right. You wanted that kind of improvement, right?
Yeah,
And
I got a 1080 on the PSAT, which is horrible. And I said, well, like this has to change. So that's why I decided that I needed to get tutoring.
what about your general situation in math at the time? Like what math class were you in?
So I took geometry 8th grade, algebra 2 ninth grade, and pre-cal 10th grade. But I was missing a lot of the base because despite having gone to school like in person 8th and ninth grade, I still didn't really get all the attention I should have. There was just like so many distractions with Zoom that I didn't learn that much. And I was missing a lot of like basic concepts and things that were important to know. So that's kind of where I was. And then I got straight A's in geometry, algebra 2. It was just pre-cal that was really difficult for me, but I don't that wasn't really a factor that I took into consideration when taking the SAT course. Like I didn't think that it was because of pre-cal that I needed to take it. I just think there's like specific skills that you need to know for the SAT that I just didn't know. And like during tutoring, I realized because the tutors would always mention like, oh, like you should have learned this in this class or this grade, and I didn't have that. So I think that's why I realized that I needed to, and that was my situation in math at the moment.
I know you had your thing with pre-cal that like it didn't go as well as it that you wanted
Yeah.
to, but would you have considered yourself a strong math student, intermediate, or was that your weak point?
I was like, all right. I've always been better at reading than at math,
Okay.
but I was like, all right. I'd always gotten straight A's in math.
So reading was stronger, but you were still pretty good at math. Like it wasn't.
Yeah. I just don't think I was ready for like the SAT at all. It's
Well,
like a
right.
skill set that you have to master, and like I just knew like conceptually, I guess, I didn't like really know how to apply the concepts.
No, that makes sense because you're taking. You were like basically the way I look at it. Two. Wait, you took pre-cal in 10th, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you were 2 years ahead in math, right? Well, depending on where you are, but like in general, there are students who take algebra or take algebra one in ninth. You
Seven.
took algebra one in seventh.
Yeah.
So you can say you were 2 years ahead of math, which means that you're a pretty solid math student. Um, but a common thing that I see with students like that is that it's actually kind of what you were saying, that either you didn't learn something because you had a teacher that didn't teach it, but more probable is that they taught it and it was just like, I don't know, like 3 years ago. Like who's
Yeah,
who's gonna remember all of that?
yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool. So you knew you could do better, basically. You were like, nah, I could do better. I got this.
Exactly.
Nice. And then how'd you end up finding out about us?
I'd had heard of you guys through like social media, probably like somebody like reposted. I don't exactly remember how. And then I was just kind of waiting the whole time, like when I would actually need to like get tutored. Like I wasn't gonna get tutored like at the beginning of high school for no reason. But then once I took the PSAT and I finally realized like I actually did need it, then I did it like automatically. It was just like I honestly freshman year I thought like, oh, like maybe it's just like I'm under stress, like I'm in high school, like I just started a new school. Maybe like, once this year's over, and I also thought like, oh, I'll like the SAT covers up to algebra 2. Once I take algebra 2, I'll be more solid. And then pre-cal came and I took the PSAT again, and I still didn't get the score I want. I only went up 30 points in math. So then I realized, well, I'm not going to take it like during the school year, because during the school year I was like genuinely really busy, but I decided to dedicate some time to it during the summer.
Nice. That's a good time. Did you take summer classes or no?
Yes, I did dual enrollment
Okay.
and SAT prep.
So, all right. Well, right before you signed up, um, as you were making your decision, what was your expectation of the virtual group learning environment?
So honestly, I had learned pretty well like during virtual learning, contrary to popular belief, but I wasn't really sure because it's obviously really easy to get distracted virtually, and I didn't know how insistent per se the tutors were actually going to be. So you really do have to pay attention because they're always going to be on top of you, and if you get it wrong, they're going to ask you questions. So you can't get distracted. Like it's not just about your phone. Like even if you start daydreaming, like they're gonna catch you off guard. So you really need to pay attention.
I like to hear that. Yes, because I don't tutor anymore, so I
Yeah.
that's what's supposed to happen, and I'm glad. And
Yeah. Corey was my tutor, and she told me like how you guys basically started this together.
yeah, yeah. Well, she was in one of the first groups.
Yeah.
It was kind of crazy. It was a long time ago. Actually, it was kind of like I was taught at the RAL, and then from the RAL, I started tutoring random students, and then eventually I kind of just did my own thing, and so full circle here.
Yeah.
That's cool. So Corey, okay, so Corey was your main tutor, and
Yeah,
so
she
she
was
was
my
calling.
only tutor.
Okay, and she was calling on you a lot, huh? Or no?
Like honestly, yeah, I definitely did have like my moments where I just didn't know what was going on, but I didn't feel like it was for my own good.
Okay. All right. Well, if somebody asked, how would you describe our service to them? Like, what should they know?
I think it's very important to know that you do have to dedicate time into the course to see results, because you can see results just from going to the classes and attending your lessons. But if you don't put in all the work, and I'm not going to lie, like sometimes I would just kind of do the homework like frantically, or I wouldn't really dedicate that much time to it. But if you actually want to see uh, like a lot of growth, like the type of videos that you guys post on Instagram, then you do have to be willing to put in the time and effort. So that's definitely something to note, because you guys can only do so much on your part to a certain extent. So I think it's important to acknowledge the amount of work that has to be put in from the student.
That's right. How'd you manage so basically you're saying there's a heavy workload, and that
Yeah.
rightfully so, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there's no secret. We teach you guys tricks and stuff, but I always tell the students, it's like, it doesn't matter how many tricks you learn, bro. Like, if you don't practice just a volume,
Yeah, exactly. It's all about repetition ultimately.
yeah, you won't have the muscle memory. It's like people always talk about, um, people are always asking, right? How do I do wellness tests? How to do wellness tests? And I'm like, how do you do wellness sport? Right? You want to, in any sport, right? You practice, do you play sport?
Yeah, tennis.
Okay. Like, because this is true in any sport, right? It's like there's certain fundamental exercises that I'm assuming you do always.
Exactly.
Like, you know how to serve, but you still practice serving.
Yeah.
And why is that?
To practice and get better.
You know what the key word is?
Repetition.
Yeah, true. But there's another one, and it's muscle memory.
Okay.
It's the same thing, you know, like in on the SAT, when a student tells me, like, oh, I already know how to do that. And I'm like, cool. But like, how well do you know how to do that? Like, how fast can you do it? Like how like, you know, quick can you just like
Consistent.
look at it, know what to do, and then solve it? That's gonna make a big difference, right? It's like the faster you can do the problems, even the ones that you know how to do, the more time you're gonna have for that crazy problem that they're always gonna put on the test, like the crazy weird geometry ones that they always do.
Yeah.
You're gonna need a bunch of time for that. And I don't think people realize that. So, you know, even the stuff that you're good at, you need to practice to make it like you don't have to think about it. All right. How do you manage your work?
So this was really difficult for
You
me
did
because
it.
even though I took it in the summer, I was still traveling. Again, I was also doing dual enrollment, 3 classes, which was not the best idea. If I would have known, I would have solely dedicated my summer to SAT prep. But basically, I would try to do the homeworks as soon as they assigned it after class, because right during class usually they send you like the message with the 10 assignments you have to do. So I would try to get a head start, and if not, honestly, I would do it like my classes were Tuesday in particular, so I would just like catch up the Monday before, like because it was also during the like right like after the weekend, so I would just try to catch up as best as I could. I did fall behind like twice, but it wasn't that I didn't turn in my work. I just turned in my work like Tuesday, the same day that I would have had a class. Like basically I would just dedicate my whole Tuesday to SAT prep. So I don't think I can give the best advice on that. I definitely felt more comfortable because I was like, well, there's no grade for this. Like ultimately it was my responsibility, but it's not like I was gonna get a bad grade for it. So that's the downside. But definitely with all the texts you receive, like you're going to feel pressured to do it. So at one point or another, you will get it done.
I mean, you did. You ended up doing 22 practice tests. So
Yeah.
maybe it wasn't like as organized as it could have been, like, or like,
Yeah, exactly.
you know, we tell
Yeah,
you
I
to
would have
spread it.
definitely like streamlined it better if I kind of knew preemptively, but you learn as you go.
Yeah, no, you're good. And you know what? The other thing is that you're early. Like, that also
Yeah.
part people
Yeah,
don't
no,
realize.
I knew that I was not gonna let like senioritis and not having a good SAT score get to me, because I know like one of the questions you're gonna ask me is like, oh, like, does this help you with bright futures? Honestly, through IB, you already get bright futures, so that's not really my thing. But like, I know you shouldn't apply test optional either way. So I obviously did want a good score, and I wasn't gonna wait senior year to get that, or like cramming the summer before junior year when before senior year, like junior year summer, like when you already have to be preparing your college app. Like I wasn't gonna do that.
Right. I feel that. That's smart. But it is like, if you were doing this prep in that summer, I think
You'd
it
be
would,
more motivated.
you would have done like 40 practice tests. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
it's it's just impossible. It's like it's almost impossible, you know. It's like you can
Yeah, you have to
only
choose.
you only force yourself so much until there's like somebody there like, no, it's now. And you're like, okay.
Exactly.
Uh,
Yeah. I do think I honestly slacked a little bit, and if I do think that I could still like try to study more. And I do plan on taking the December SAT. But yeah, that's
I'll
like
tell you a
my
story after this.
okay.
Now that we're talking about your score, so what result did you ultimately get? Right, like what was your final score and your total improvement?
So I originally got a 540 on the PSAT, and on the SAT I got a 680.
That's 140. So that's really good. Don't let's hold on now, right? Let's put some context here. But I
Yeah.
get what you're saying, and I'm very confident um, that if you take it again and you keep practicing, you can get higher.
Yeah,
Believe me,
that's the
I
goal.
know you can get to 700. Not now. The story I was going to tell you is, yeah. So I just got a text today. Hi guys, I know I haven't done your program for the October SAT, but regardless, I needed help with math, and after doing your math course, I went up 100 points, so it's 660. This person had done our program in May, June test. So it was for the June test. Went up 100 points. Got 660. Great. You know, our average improvement is about 100. And the summer was like 130. So you hit above the average. 100 points is great. Great improvement. Want to know what she just got in October?
Yeah. 700s.
So she went up. Yeah, she went up from a 560 to a 660, right?
Yeah.
And then after studying more on her own, she had our packets and she just did the practices. She went up another 70. So she got a 730.
That's really good.
But that's not the first time. You know what I mean? It just happened right now.
Yeah.
On the phone. I was like, all right, awesome. Like another time where this happened. So the key is really just to sit down and take more, like retake your practice test is what I would think, to be honest. And then just take the next two tests. I would just take November, December.
Yeah.
Because there's one that's going to be like easier.
Okay.
It's going to feel like that. There's going to be one where you'll be like, yo, it was so easy for me.
Okay. Yeah.
And then you'll get like a 750 and then you're going to have to come back onto this.
Okay.
But still, so right now with your score, are you in a good place yet or no?
I'm like all right. I got a 1330, which ironically is like 10 points below. But again, I honestly do have bright futures. Like that's one of the ways they sold IB to us. So obviously the goal is like at least 1400 just to like raise my chances because everyone else I know is like 1500s. I don't like that's really impressive to me. That means like you have like 700 plus on each. But definitely at least like 700 for math and somewhere around there for reading.
I'm pretty confident you're going to get that because you started early. You just can't give up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fact. All right, cool. So what advice would you give a student on this journey right now?
I would say to truly stay consistent. I know in all the videos I saw, they're always like, yeah, stay on top of your homework. It's a lot easier said than done because sometimes you're like, wow, I really don't want to do this. Like, I just want to relax. But you do have to stay on top of it because in the end, you might regret not having done more than you could have. So just try to put in your maximum effort.
And okay, it's easier said than done. That's the main thing there, which is true, and it happens to every student. They're like, yeah, I got this. I'll do it an hour a day. And like,
yeah. When I did the survey, like it's like, oh, how many hours do you think you're gonna put into this? And I was like, oh, easily 5. Like, you know, it's summer. I could do 1 a day. That'll be easy. And then it was summer, and then I had trips, and then I didn't want to do anything, and then I was like, oh no, I need to do my SAT homework.
It's tough.
Yeah. I don't know how people do it during the school year, honestly.
I don't know. I think because you're already in the like flow of things.
Yeah.
You're like, it's harder and you're more stressed out about it, but I think sometimes it can work out better. To be honest, my favorite time to do it is summer before senior year. Like I know it's like kind of late, but it's exactly that reason why I think it works the best. Like the people who get the best results, they take it. And I'm not saying this to convince people to wait until then, but it just is what it is. It's like I was telling you, that summer, it's like their last chance. They're seniors. They're already like they're not in school. You know, college is right there. So when they do it in that summer, it's like every single person that does it goes up like and gets like a 7-8. Then they go crazy. You know, they do all the homework like times 10 because you know it's like your last shot. So it's kind of like, all right, there's the finish line. Like, let me sprint.
Yeah.
Right. And the last question is, how could our program be improved for future students?
I think if you guys were to change something, it probably wouldn't be as efficient. You guys have thoroughly thought this through, and I'm not really sure what you guys could do to improve it.
Don't worry, I'm working on it anyways.
Okay.
Don't worry. You can always improve.
Okay.
All right, cool. So by the way, you still have access to everything.
Yeah, I saw in the Google Classroom.
I know you're probably only gonna use it like the day before the test. I highly recommend.
I actually didn't do absolutely anything before taking the SAT. I was like, I can't do this. Like, I just want to go and take the test. So I actually didn't look at anything. but
For the next test, I
I'm
recommend
gonna like study preemptively.
at least one test 2 weeks before.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Are you gonna take the December?
Yeah, December for sure. November, I don't think I can, and it was already registration.
Yeah.
And I think you have to pay extra for like late registration. And then also, yeah, I think I'm gonna do December. And then also my school gives us a free SAT in the summer, in the
Smart.
spring, and a free ACT. So
Yeah. Cool.
SAT is obviously my main focus. Oh, and also to add, like when I was looking at the questions and a response I thought of, it's like, oh, like why did you choose this one? I had heard of like other companies, like this one called Beck College Prep, and like they have good results. But for some reason, the way they do their courses, at least from what I've seen, it's like everything is sporadic. So you take like, for example, for reading, like you take like one grammar class, uh, one like reading comprehension class, and obviously like the good thing about this one, like you said, it's like a holistic thing, so it's not split individually because that's not very efficient, especially when it's so hard to pinpoint a weakness. So that's definitely another reason why I chose this particular course.
Well, thank you, and I'm gonna see you again. Don't worry.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Have a good day.
All right. Bye.